Always great chatting with my next guest, the man behind Iridium Sports, who of course has his flyweight champion, Brandon Moreno, fighting this Saturday at UFC 270. It's Jason House back here on the program. Jason, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Busy couple of weeks for you. We got the title fight on Saturday, but the big news, of course, last week was the Korean Zombie getting his title shot, long-awaited title shot against Alex Volkanovski. Now, I saw your interview with Nolan King, my good buddy over there at MMA Junkie. I know it seemed like things progressed pretty quickly, but at what point was this on your radar about Volkanovski being out, and how quickly were you able to get a hold of Zombie?
I kind of found out just through, I think it was Twitter. I'd seen a post that Max was out, and right away I called Zombie. He didn't answer because I believe it was like very early in the morning. I think like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning in Korea. And so I just called his coach, Eddie Cha, and he had told Eddie and I before, hey, if a title fight opportunity ever comes up, just say yes. Don't worry about it. I'm good for it. So we just started pushing forward. I contacted the UFC and said, hey, you know what? Zombie's ready to go if you need someone. And they said, okay, then let's do it.
It was that simple. Because I was going to say they had the featherweight title fight, or the featherweight fight last weekend with Kattar and Chikaze. Were you surprised that they didn't wait until that fight was over? Or were you just like, hey, we're good. We'll take the fight. It's all good.
I think knowing what we know now and how they were moving fights to April and kind of making a main event for March, I think they knew they had to make a decision there quickly. I think it was more of a time sensitive issue where they're just like, you know what, Zombie's very highly ranked. He's coming off a win. It makes sense. Let's just do that and start moving the ball forward.
One thing I've always wondered is, I know the Korean Zombie's English is not amazing. Like, do you actually call him and talk to him directly, or do you have his coach talk to him, or like how does that work in terms of getting in touch with him? Because not only do you have to worry about the time change, but you also have the language barrier as well.
Yeah, usually Eddie Cha's on the call with us and he's able to translate. But actually, KZ's English is pretty good. Like, he understands what I'm saying. I think sometimes he's hesitant to speak, but yeah, his English is not bad at all.
Okay, that's good. And like you were kind of alluding to there, he sort of figured maybe something happens here. So he's been on standby, because I know there's been some talks of, him dealing with some injuries. But I know you mentioned in that interview with Nolan that his shoulder is good to go, right?
Yes. I believe when Ortega and Volkanovski fought, I think they pushed it back once, right?
Yeah.
There was some dialogue before that maybe Zombie would come in and be a replacement. So we've kind of had this experience before, and like, again, we were ready for it when we saw it happen this time.
I spoke to Eddie last week just before this was officially announced, and he was kind of saying, he talks to Zombie about once a week. What are the plans moving forward? Will Zombie be coming to the United States to train at Fight Ready, or is he going to do his camp back home?
So he's coming to the States February 6th. He'll be doing camp at Fight Ready with Coach Eddie and the squad over there, and I'm excited. We got a great camp planned for him. Sorry,
no worries.
We're bringing in some great training partners for him to kind of emulate Volkanovski. And one thing I always say about Fight Ready is they do a phenomenal job of preparing their team for the opponent. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the game plan they come up with.
How much easier is that, as well as a manager, just having your fighter stateside, where you can actually, it's easier, like you could drive to him if you needed to, right? Like, it's nice having him close by as opposed to, way out in Korea.
Oh, it's great. He's very close. Vegas is not far from Phoenix at all. And just being on the same time zone and being in constant dialogue, it just brings a good camaraderie, and it helps us kind of do our job and make sure that everything's taken care of, because this is a big camp, and there's a lot of moving pieces in this.
And what would it mean, just from a management standpoint, of having another champion under your management banner? I mean, we've talked about this for years. You guys have been at this for a long time. You got your first champion last year with Brandon Moreno. What would it mean to you personally just to have another champion under the banner?
Oh, it'd mean the world to me. Zombie is someone that's very dear to my heart. We have a great relationship, especially with Coach Eddie Cha, who we kind of came up in the game together. We both started working together, I think, 2011. So we've been in this together 10, 11 years now. There's just a great camaraderie between the three of us, and to have that opportunity to fight for a world title with KZ just seems fitting. And I'm very excited to go out there and shock the world and get this belt with him.
Let's talk about Brandon Moreno. Really big fight, the trilogy fight coming up here. It's my understanding, and I don't think I've had anyone clarify this, the reason they're doing the trilogy is because I think at the time Pantoja was injured, Askarov missed weight. That's kind of why they wanted to go this route as opposed to going, say, with a fresh opponent.
Correct. The initial offer was Pantoja. That was the discussion, excuse me. Turns out that he had a knee surgery and turned to be a little bit worse than expected. And so he would not be ready to compete on the date that we wanted to fight. And then I think Askar was injured too, or it might have been some issues, I think maybe because he missed weight. I'm not quite sure. And so the next logical option was Figueiredo, being that we just have had these first 2 fights go. And so, yeah, we're excited to do this trilogy. And I told Brandon from the start, I told Brandon after we had the draw of the first fight, I said, man, listen, you're going to go beat him in this rematch, and we're going to get this belt. But I can guarantee you, somewhere down the road where that trilogy is going to happen, it wouldn't surprise me if it happened again, like immediately.
So we mentioned Eddie Cha, and I know this happens a lot with your management group. You have so many fighters. Sometimes they fight each other. What's that like, knowing that Eddie's, preparing Davidson for this fight, and obviously Moreno is rep by you guys? I know Eddie's a pretty cool guy that way, but are there any sort of issues that come up with that at all?
No, there's no issues at all. And to be honest with you, I get emotional thinking about it. Eddie and I are from Anaheim. I'm from Diamond Bar, which is like literally 15 minutes on the freeway. He came from Buena Park. I mean, this is the closest major arena to both of our cities. Like, for us to have this opportunity to compete in our hometown at such a high level, we're blessed. And I respect the hell out of Eddie, and he knows that. I love him to death. And, it's just competition. There's no ill will, like I talk to Eddie almost daily. He's family to me.
That's awesome. And then in terms of training camp, did Brandon do his entire camp back in Mexico, or how did he structure things ahead of this?
So we did Mexico and Las Vegas. We did the majority of the camp in Tijuana with his team and with his coaching staff down there, and then we finished up camp here and brought some of the team and coaches out here, just kind of do the last week or two and use the benefits of the PI and get acclimated.
And not looking past Saturday, but is the sort of the understanding that Pantoja will get the winner of this fight?
I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts in the flyweight division right now, and all of them are great options. I always compliment Mick Maynard, the matchmaker. I'm like, man, he's made this division full of ninjas. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. If Pantoja's it, great. If there's a lot of good fights coming up. Royval just had a great win. Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell. I was gonna say Matt Schnell is a great matchup that could also produce a contender there. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Askarov, he has a fight coming up. I think it's Kaikara, France, right?
Yeah.
So I think those matchups right there are really going to determine who's next. What I do know is God willing, we win Saturday night. We want to stay active. We want to get right back in there. Brandon's really number one desire is to be an active champion. He wants to fight 3 or 4 times a year. And we see that sometimes, right? Champions only compete once or twice a year. We don't want that. We want to be on every card if we can.
And what is it about Brandon? I mean, I've interviewed him. Probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. I don't think I've ever seen the guy frown or anything like that. But you two specifically have really gotten along well. I know your wife hangs out with his family. Yeah. Like, what about him has really made this, more than just a, client relationship thing? It seems like you guys are really good friends too.
Yeah, when he moved to Las Vegas, we just really have bonded. We were close before then, but when you live in the same city as they do, and our families just spend a lot of time together. We're the godparent to their children, and I love his daughters to death, and his wife Shirley's amazing, and it's always just been a great camaraderie between us. I mean, not many people know this, but like Brandon's like my wife's favorite fighter that we didn't rep for the longest time. She loved Brandon, like always adored him. And I had a lot of respect for him too. Not that I didn't, but when the opportunity came that he was in search of representation, she was over the moon that we had the opportunity to work with him. So yeah, I just feel like he fits our culture. He's what our culture is about here at the agency.
And someone I know you've been with for a long time. It kind of reminds me of Moreno a little bit. Chito Vera, he's been, outstanding. Nice win over Frankie Edgar in his last fight. Any update on when we could see him back? Because I know there's big things ahead for him this year in 2022.
It was Chito that actually brought Brandon to us. It's funny that you say that.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, there you go. A mind reader, too.
Yeah. We were in talks. We had discussions of possibly main eventing February 19th. We got some dialogue going on, and all of it's very exciting. I'm just so proud of Chito, how far he's come in this business. He's such a class act. And, that win in Madison Square Garden over legend Frankie Edgar, who's also a class act, I think is one of my best memories, I think, that I've had in this business. A kid from Ecuador coming all the way up to MSG and getting that win was just huge. But I really am looking for something exciting, whether it be a Sanhagen or a Cruz, or I know Chito wants the Aldo rematch. I know there's always dialogue of maybe running it back with O'Malley. There's a lot of great options there for Chito, and we're very excited for him.
What would you like to see? Just your personal opinion as his next opponent, because I know it's ultimately up to him and his coaches. You mentioned O'Malley. That would be a big fight. I think a lot of people feel like Chito's ahead of that. But just as his manager, what would be your sort of next pick if he could pick anyone?
I would like to see someone that moves us up the ladder. I think we're right there. We're closing in on a title shot, so something that would make sense there. Dominic Cruz just had a big win. Sanhagen's top 3, top 4 guy in the world. We're excited. We're looking forward to it all. I think any of those matchups make a lot of sense right now.
And another big pickup you guys had recently on the management front was Jessica Rose Clark. How did this all come together with you signing Jess?
Yeah, she was in the market for management. She has a real good relationship with our marketing director, Jacob Parga. And she had reached out, and we were honored. I mean, I think she's awesome. She's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to keeping her active this year and really climbing up those rankings. I really think she can make a run in this division.
Did you get any time off for the holidays? Because you're at, like, every weekend you're doing something. You're at a different event. Like, I saw you on the, I know you were there for Joseph Holmes' fight for looking for a fight. Yeah. Like, it seems like every weekend you're somewhere. Did you and the wife get any time off?
Yeah, we did. We had planned a trip to New York. I'm a big Zach Bryan fan, and he had a concert out there in New York. And so we went out there to see him for a couple of days. It was right after the December, was it 18th card? December 18th card, when Simone beat a Sun Sao. We had a big card, it was the last big card of the year, right? And then we flew out to New York for a few days. So that was kind of nice. It's kind of like my 3 or 4 days to kind of really decompress a little bit. And then, came home, saw the family for the holidays. It was good seeing everyone, and then right back at it, and you're always constantly like, James, there's never.
Yeah, I know.
There's never enough,
even for me, like, it's like there's no off season, right? So it's,
Yeah, even then you're recruiting, you never want to rebuild, you're reloading constantly, you're analyzing the culture of your group, and everything from our first interview to now, the questions have deferred, right? We're talking about champions, defending possible champions getting title shots. So we have to constantly keep evolving, and I think that's the pressure that we have, and it's good pressure. It's earned in our agencies to keep finding ways to grow and improve.
Speaking of growing and improving, I got to ask this as a fellow dad. Any plans to start a family at all? Because I know you're busy every weekend. It's probably tough to do that, but is that something, not to get too personal here, but I was just curious about that.
No. The joke, I was joking, Brandon and I, we had this joke that 2021 was the year of babies and belts. So we got the belts. I think it's time to have some babies. And you know what, James, and I love how much of a family man you are, and you can respect this. COVID has kind of allowed me to have a life where I could be a father, right? Like 2019, when I was seeing the road a lot, I think I spent 29 nights in my home in 2019. It was the nicest hotel I stayed at. Now, because of COVID, with 3 of the 4 events in Vegas, I can, be a cheerleading dad. I can be a soccer dad, right? I can coach my son's little league team. I can be active. And that's really what I want, is to have an active role in my child's life. That's very important to me.
Okay, so that's a yes. Like hearing that in my
practice.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I know that's awesome. And just my last question, I know you're a busy guy. Did you foresee this agency being as big as it is? I don't think, I could be wrong about this. You guys must have the most fighters on the UFC roster, I would think. Yeah, I know there's some other management groups that have a lot, but did you envision it being this big with the agents you have, and, like Lance and Jacob and, Jeremy, and just seeing what this thing has become? Like, it's a mega force, and it's a huge reason why a lot of fighters have opportunities to compete in the UFC.
I'll be honest, James, when I got in this, and it's still the reason why I'm in it, is because I love the sport and because I want to serve and give to others. And if you make it about serving and giving to the clients, good things are going to happen. I never really put a cap on what it could be. I wasn't thinking it was going to be like this, right? I just was having so much fun and working hard. And I kept my nose on the grindstone. And then sometimes you come up for air and you're like, oh, shoot, this is pretty big. And then the next year, like, oh, man, this is even bigger. And then, this last past year, like, oh, wow, we're really doing this. So, I really just try to stay focused on the process, and the results kind of take care of themselves.
Jason, thanks so much for doing this. We got to do it more often. I know you're on the road a lot. Well, not anymore. I guess in Vegas, they're doing a lot of shows there, but always good to hear from you, man. If there's anything you want to plug before we get out of here, I'll give you the last word.
Man, I just want to thank everyone that's been a part of these camps for the 7 clients that we have on UFC 270. I'm really excited to get to Anaheim and see my family and friends in that arena. It's going to be great.